Salutations, mortals! I am Ender Lord Skull, and today you shall be educated on the beginning of Destiny 2's Season of the Hunt. Specifically, the moment we learn of Sagira's death at the hands of the High Celebrant of Zivorath. First off, what is a High Celebrant? From what I can gather, a High Celebrant is the High Priest that controls the flow of tithes to the Hive deity that he or she serves. This particular celebrant serves Sivu Arath, the Hive goddess of war. Here is the SparkNotes version of what the Hive are. The Hive are those freaky-looking three-eyed pains in the butt found mainly on the moon. Every single hive has a symbiote worm living inside of themselves. These worms will give the hive their weird, magic-esque abilities along with immortality. In return, the worm must be fed through death and destruction. Don't provide enough destruction and your worm will eat you alive from the inside out. Not a pretty picture. That's where the tithing system comes into play. Here's the way this works. Thralls, the lowest link in the hive hierarchy, go around causing death and destruction. The thralls keep enough of that destruction to keep themselves alive, then donate the rest to the acolytes, the next link in the tithing chain. Acolytes also go around causing ruin, keeping enough to feed their worm before donating their share along with whatever's left of the thrall's tithe. It continues in that fashion from wizards to knights to ogres all the way up to the high celebrants, who feed themselves and give the final culmination of all the tithes from the lower hive to the hive gods. And the gods keep all of it. Why do they do this? The hive follow a philosophy, the sword logic. The sword logic states that existence is the struggle to exist. To gift and give is to be weak and therefore unfit to survive. To truly acquire something, it must be taken by force. If one cannot defend themselves, they must be cut away, and their killer becomes ever stronger because of it. Now, who is Sagira, and why is her death important? Whenever you start up a new character, the first person you meet is this little guy. This is a ghost, a tiny piece of this giant ball in the sky called the Traveler. No one really knows what the Traveler is or where it came from, but what we do know is that it is a seemingly infinite amount of a paracausal energy called the Light. Paracausal. Try saying that, I'm just actually going to try that right now. Paracausal, 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 paracausal. Can't do it. To be paracausal is to change fate, check or reality itself to your will. In layman's terms, imagine a river that splits off into countless directions. Most beings simply flow down the river, following whatever path it takes them. But to be paracausal is to take a paddle and change your course, to change your fate in a world of predetermined outcomes. Anyways, I'm getting off track. A ghost's job is to search for dead and dying. The Traveler is currently crippled and can no longer defend itself, let alone humanity. That's where the ghost comes in. Ghosts search for the dead, but very specific dead. They're called light bearers, beings with the unique ability to wield the Traveler's light as a weapon. Once a ghost finds one, it resurrects him/her. How does that work, you may ask? I have no idea. To my knowledge, no one does. Those revived are granted paracausality, immortality, and the mantle of Guardian, defender of humanity. The only catch is permanent and irreversible amnesia. Almost all Guardians, with only a select few exceptions, have no memory of their past lives. They don't even know their own names. The only way to get any of it back is to be resurrected with something like an ID or a journal on your person, which is rare. Alternatively, you could meet someone who knew you in your past life, but that's almost unheard of. Who's everybody? Oh, right, Sagira. Sagira is the name of a very particular ghost. For those who've never played the Curse of Osiris campaign, she looks like this. The man next to Sagira is Osiris, Sagira's chosen light bearer, or charge. These two were infamous back in the day. Osiris was one of the first members of the Vanguard, a series of 3 individuals, one of each guardian discipline: Titan, Hunter, and Warlock, which I play. Osiris was not the biggest fan of his role in the Vanguard and often shirked his duties in favor of researching the enemies of humanity and training his eventual successor, Ikora Rey. Osiris's supporters could be more accurately described as fanatical cultists, and treated him and Sagira as prophets, which Osiris objected to. One time, he and Sagira tried composing a series of academic papers regarding an alien race called the Vex. Assyrian cultists dubbed these papers the prophecies of Osiris, regarding them as holy scripture. The speaker, leader of the Guardian ranks, misunderstood the context of this and had Osiris and Sagira branded as heretics and exiled from the last city, home of the Guardians. Most of his cult followed him. Centuries later, Sagira and Osiris traveled to the moon, deciding a new form of hive structure known as cryptoliths. If you've ever played Destiny, you know what I'm talking about. They're everywhere. They have this weird power to put most creatures in a trance, turning them into mindless killing machines called the Wrathborn. So Sagira and Osiris are looking around and studying the cryptoliths when they meet a guy that I really don't like. He's called the High Celebrant of Zevul Wrath. No one knows his real name, so from now on I'm just gonna call him Mr. Malarkey. It's a funny name. Anyways, Mr. Malarkey didn't like Sagira and Osiris messing around with his goddess's stuff, so he tried to kill them. Osiris was able to escape, but Sagira wasn't so lucky. The High Celebrant killed her, leaving Osiris ghostless. This is unimaginably bad for several reasons. Reason 1, if a ghostless guardian dies, they're dead for good. Reason 2, ghostless guardians have a limited amount of light. Ghosts act as a conduit, connecting guardians to the traveler. When ghostless, you can still use whatever light you have left in your system, but once it's gone, there's no getting it back. There's a bright side though. Yes, your ghost can be killed. However, it's not easy. You need a concentrated blast of immense energy. Mr. Malarkey's weapon is a boomer, a hive grenade launcher, and it's pretty logical to assume that his boomer is immensely powerful, considering how high he is in the hive pecking order. That's all I have for you today. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.